Hi, good morning. Hello, everyone. Okay, here we are. It's 7:28, a little early because I have now an 8 o'clock class for this week. So I'll have to be off here before 8 o'clock, Monday through Friday. All right, so we're going to get started here. We're in Habakkuk 2, and chapter 2 starts on page 290 if you're in the book with us. It's January 3rd or February 3rd. We're already in February 2025, and this is the 59th day. Yep, this is the 59th day of our devotional. I just was checking. So that's amazing. Tomorrow will be 60 days of being in the Word together. It's been a ride, hasn't it, to hear from these minor prophets. We're in the Passion Translation. And I want to, before I get started here, I want to pin this so people tell me they can't find me. So I just want to do this real quick here so that it comes up to the top of my feed. It's not letting me pin it. Okay, I don't know why, so I won't be able to do that. All right, it's chapter 2. Let's see who's trying to get a hold of me. Oh, Lori, yay, hi. Okay, I will wait at my watch post and station myself on the tower. I'll keep watching to see what he'll say to me and consider the reply when he answers my argument. Yesterday we ended with this first verse in chapter 2, and today we're going to start with it again because I feel like it's one of the most important verses, for me at least, in this chapter. Let me turn my phone off. That's my fault. I just texted somebody and they're just trying to get back to me. Anyway, this is all about intercession, and I love it so much because that's what God has me doing in this season is intercession. And wow, God answers us. And yesterday we saw the bravery of Habakkuk coming to God with his questions and God answering him. And then, I don't know why, but it just means the world to me that Habakkuk actually took his time to wait on the Lord for an answer. And I just can't stress this enough and exhort us enough. I think I'm speaking to myself. Maybe that's why it's such an issue for me. To station myself on the tower and to keep watching to see what he'll say to me and consider his reply when he answers my argument. It says in the notes that I'll lean forward to see what he'll say to me. And I just want to do that right now. I'm going to lean forward like if I were trying to get closer to you or closer to him to hear what he's trying to say to me. And when it says he's answering my argument, it literally means concerning my correction. So he is correcting us sometimes. And what if he didn't correct us? Wouldn't that just be so unloving? And so I know all of us who are parents know the trickiness of correction and how your child can feel torn down when they're corrected, depending on how you do it. And I just don't even see how God could ever tear us down in our correction. He really loves us. Maybe I'm not seeing the whole picture, but I know circumstances are different for everybody. But if he didn't correct us, we wouldn't be his child. We wouldn't really be the one that he's trying to shepherd and take care of. And so we should be so thankful that he wants to do this for us. We are told here to write down the revelation of God. And where we do that is on our hearts. I want to read 2 Corinthians to you. Let me just, 2 Corinthians 3, verses 2 through 8. And it says this is the King James Version. It says, "You are our epistle written in our hearts, known and read by all men. Clearly you are an epistle of Christ, ministered by us, written not with ink, but by the Spirit of the living God, not on tablets of stone, but on tablets of flesh, that is, on the tablet of your heart. And we have such trust through Christ toward God, not that we are sufficient of ourselves to think of anything as being from ourselves, but our sufficiency is from God, who also made us sufficient as ministers of the new covenant, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life." So, and then, let's see. Yeah, we probably don't need to read all that. Anyway, good morning, everyone. Hi, Gail. Hi, Amy. I see Lori's on my Facebook Messenger, but she's not on here saying good morning. I don't understand, but all right. So here we go. We're on the second section here. That was Habakkuk waiting for God's answer, and now here is God's answer. And starting in verse 2, "And Yahweh replied." He replied. He answered. Write down the revelation. Write down the vision, he says. Write it legibly on clay tablets, so that whatever or whoever reads it may run and explain it to others. That's what we were just reading about, writing it on our hearts, so that it really means something. The vision still awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove to be false. When the appointed time comes, it will happen with breathless haste. Although it may seem slow, just be patient and wait, for it will surely come right on time. Before we turn the page here, I want to read something as there are principles here that apply to intercession, and I think this is good for us to read. Down in the notes, in the chapter 2, verse 2, note that it says, so this is, let me just get to the D, letter D. "So whoever reads it may run and explain it to others." And he says here that so that it can be read on the run. This second clause may also be read as so that a herald may run with it and explain it to others. The implication here is that a herald would routinely take up such a record of divine revelation and would then run with it to various audiences for a public reading. Wow, that's incredible. It's like the newspaper, the newsboy. Verses 1 and 2 give us 7 wise principles. Number 1, be sure that you know and keep your assignment as an intercessor. Number 2, be watchful at all times. Number 3, believe that God will be faithful to speak to you. I just want to go back to number 1 for a minute. I had a friend stop by a couple days ago. I think it was Saturday. And she's an intercessor. And she said to me a few times when she was talking to me at the door, "I know my assignment," or "I knew my assignment." And I think she was saying, "I couldn't gather with you on Wednesdays." That's when we have our intercession, because I had a different assignment. And I thought, wow, she's so keen to hear what the Lord says. It doesn't matter to her if it's with a group or by herself. She has to obey the Lord in her assignment. So that was such beautiful obedience. And then number 2, be watchful at all times. 3, believe that God will be faithful to speak to you. I love every single one of these. Believe that he will speak to you. Number 4, be prepared to hear words of correction. We have to be open to correction. Number 5, write down and preserve what God has spoken to you. So we have to, I just want to encourage you, as simple as this sounds or seems, like here right next to me is my journal, and I have a pen right here. We have to have our pen in hand and something to write on. Or type into our phone, but we have to be able to put things down. I always try to do this with dreams because I have, extraordinary dreams sometimes. And I texted a really good friend in the middle of the night last night. I don't know what she thought about that. I don't think she got it till the morning. But I had just dreamed about her, and so I texted the dream to her. And then, yeah. Anyway, you need to write things down. And then number 6, be ready to apply his words appropriately. Number 7, share what he says so that it may bless others also. So, bye, honey. So we're going to see here that we don't keep things to ourselves. We share them with other people. And then it will happen with breathless haste when the vision, it says in verse 3, the vision still awaits an appointed time. It speaks to the end and will not prove to be false. When the appointed time comes, it will happen with breathless haste. And breathless haste is taken from a Hebrew word that means to puff or to pant. To know God's will or his plan doesn't mean that we know his timing. God's plan and God's timing are like a wheel inside of a wheel. Wow, that's amazing. A wheel inside of a wheel is like God's timing and his plan. They're both moving and running. Doesn't mean that they're in complete sync with each other. All right, now I'm going to turn the page, and I'm on page 292, verse 4. Look at the proud puffed up with pride. They are crooked to the core, but the righteous will live by faith. I just want to stop here, too, because this is such a huge verse in the Bible. The righteous will live by faith. And I want to look at Romans 1, chapter 1, verse 17. Let me just get that up on my phone here. It says, probably the same thing. For in the gospel, the righteousness of God is revealed through faith, just as it is written, the righteous will live by faith. It is often considered the central theme of the book of Romans. This scripture is the central theme of the book of Romans. And there's an explanation offered here that it says that in Romans 1:17, God's righteousness is revealed through faith. It also explains that faith is what allows people to experience Jesus' gospel and enter his kingdom. And it says here also that Paul is quoting Habakkuk. So isn't that cool? Even the Apostle Paul knew this scripture from reading in Habakkuk. In the sentence that says they're crooked to the core, it says the proud are puffed up with pride and they're crooked to the core. It simply means their soul is not right. And then they try to explain this verse about the righteous will live by faith, but it can be taken a few different ways. So let's read the notes down here. Or live by his faithfulness. It is possible that his refers to God, so this can mean that it's God's faith or God's faithfulness that we live by, which is a whole other spin on this. I think it's very rich to think about all of it. The righteous will live by God's faith. And there's other scriptures besides Romans 1:17 here. Paul also spoke about it in Galatians 3:11, and then the writer of Hebrews in 10:38. To live by faith is to live with unbreakable loyalty to God, obeying his word even when outward circumstances make it difficult. Let's be real, man, it's hard sometimes. Both the Hebrew and the Greek words for faith means something certain. Even surrounded with questions that go unanswered, we live by faith, not by knowledge. Have you ever had to say to someone, I don't know? That's your answer, I don't know. Or you might say to someone, I don't know, but God knows. I mean, sometimes we just don't know. And we have to live by faith. We have to trust him. And so there you have it. That's like the central core piece to this chapter. Let's go on in verse 5. And this section is called, God will punish the wicked. Wealth is deceitful. The proud are full of themselves, but have empty souls. They're as greedy as the grave, and just like death itself, they're never satisfied. They gather and grasp for themselves all the wealth of the nations, and take all the people captive. All these conquered nations will one day taunt them, saying, You are doomed. You who pile up stolen goods, how long will you amass wealth by extortion? Will not your creditors suddenly arise? Will they not wake up and terrify you? Before you know it, you will become their prey. Since you've plundered many nations, the peoples who are left will plunder you. For you have killed many people. You have acted violently against lands and cities and everyone within them. You are doomed. You who enrich your family by cheating others, you build your luxurious home on high, thinking you'll be safe from harm's reach. Your schemes to ruin the lives and homes of others bring shame upon your own house. You are as good as dead for doing this. The stones of the wall will cry out to accuse you, and your wooden rafters will echo it. I mean, this just goes on over and over saying, you are doomed, you are doomed, you are doomed. Let me just look one more thing up. Okay, so all right, so we remember here from chapter 1, or from the notes in the introduction, that the person or the people group that Habakkuk is addressing here is Babylon. Their invasion, their seeming injustice, the proud people, or the proud leaders of Babylon. And God has said, I'm going to use them to punish Judah, punish Israel. And then he's going to punish Babylon ultimately too. They won't get away with it. But he is kind of describing his ways here. And anyway, let's go on here. I just wanted to make sure we knew who he's talking to. Remind you, it's Babylon. So in verse 12, you are doomed, you who build a city with bloodshed and establish it upon evil. I, Yahweh, commander of angel armies, have decreed. The efforts of the nations are nothing but fuel for the fire, for all they have built will go up in smoke. Yet the entire earth, there's kind of a pause here, the entire earth is being filled with the revelation and the glory of Yahweh, just as waters fill the sea. God's plan, it says down in the notes, is to fill the earth and its people with a glorious understanding of who he really is. That is his plan. That is his desire for us to know him. So that's a good pause there in verse 14. And then in verse 15 again, you are doomed. What a hard message. You are doomed, you who delight to mix drinks for neighbors, pouring wine from pitchers until they're dead drunk, just so that you can gaze on their naked bodies. Gosh. Now you will be drunk with shame instead of honor. Now it is your turn. Drink your fill and let your nakedness be exposed. The cup of punishment that Yahweh holds in his right hand is now coming around to you. Your former glory will be covered with your vomit of disgrace. Your violent acts against Lebanon will violently overwhelm you, since you killed its animals. Animals will terrify you, for you have killed many people and acted violently against lands and cities and everyone in them. You are doomed, you who say to a piece of dead wood, come to life. Now here, I'm on verses 18 and 19. Yeah, there's only one little mention of 18 and 19 in the notes where it says, we're not there yet. Let me just continue to read for a second. You are doomed, you who say to a piece of dead wood, come to life, or to a lifeless stone, get up. Can something dead give revelation? Even though it's covered with gold and silver, there's no breath in it. Of what use is an idol carved by a craftsman, or a metal image that gives misleading oracles? For the one who makes it trusts the work of human hands, a God that cannot even talk. So it says here, a metal image that gives misleading oracles. And he, in the notes, says this is like a teacher of lies. What I wanted to say about these two verses, because it really struck me again when I was reading it this morning, is that, the third sentence says, can something dead give revelation? And I was asking the Lord, what are the dead things in our lives that we seek after? And a picture came to my mind of, I don't know if you have them where you live, but we have these Tesla trucks driving around now, and they're these big, square, monstrous vehicles that look futuristic. And I started to notice them when my daughter worked at the car wash. They would come through. I think her boss owns one, and I know he lives near us, so maybe it was him. Who knows? We live in a small town, but I saw another one on the freeway yesterday. By the way, we've had flooding here in Redding. Yesterday we really had a tremendous amount of rain, and there areas were flooded. People were in little boats trying to get to other people in the streets. But I was out in it delivering meals because it was my night to feed the veterans. But I was in a tall truck, so that was good. But what I wanted to say was it reminded me of someone driving a Tesla, and they're not consciously thinking this, but they're getting, what do I want to say? Can something dead give revelation? Can something that doesn't have life in it, like a truck, tell you who you are, give you your importance, make you feel important, or make you feel seen, make you feel known, make you feel wealthy as you drive this vehicle around? What is that dead thing calling out in you? And how much better would it be if the driver of that truck had the living God, the creator of that person, calling out the gold in them and telling them who they really are, whether they're driving that vehicle or not? So we have things that we allow in our lives, to even the clothes that we wear, For a woman, the expensive jewelry that she has, that can begin to become part of our identity, or things that mark us that say we are a certain caliber or to be known or noticed. It can be the opposite way as well, where someone doesn't care what they wear or doesn't care to take care of maybe a daily hygienic routine. I'm kind of digging deep here, but that can also be something that becomes our identity, that there's something speaking to us saying that we're not worth doing those things, that we're not seen and we're not known anyway, so we can just kind of go with that program. And I just want to say that all those dead things that are speaking to us, the lifelessness of all of that voice, I want to silence that this morning and say that those dead things, we're not going to allow them to give us revelation about ourselves or about people we love, people that we know. We're not going to assume that the person driving the Tesla has it all together, because they probably don't, and we can still come under them and minister to them. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but he ends up here on page 295. For the one who makes it trusts the work of human hands, a God that cannot even talk. And who we really want to hear is the God that can really talk to us, which brings us back to the beginning of Habakkuk 2, where he says he's going to lean into the Lord and see what he has to say. That's the voice we want to take away with us today. That's the person that we want to give ourselves today. That's the voice that we want to hear above all others. We want to make room for who God says we are. And verse 20 on the top of page 296 says, Yahweh is in his holy temple. Let everyone on earth be silent before him. And the notes say, we silence our hearts before God to listen to what he will say to us. And to recap chapter 2, Habakkuk says 3 important things. He says, number 1, the righteous will live by faith. Number 2, the whole world will be filled with the knowledge of God's glory. And number 3, God is in his holy temple, and he's ready to solve the issues of life. He's ready to talk to us. He's ready to speak to us. And I love this chapter, and I would keep talking, but I have a class that starts at 8, so I have to go. Can't go over this week. This week I'll be cutting off a little bit before 8 o'clock. So God bless you. Ponder these things. Re-listen to this. Reread this chapter. And tomorrow I will be in chapter 3 with you, Lord willing. Excuse me. And that will be Tuesday. All right. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless you. Only listen to his voice. Lean in and hear what he has to say about you. Bye-bye.